But hey, let's transition to UFC 257. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. This is happening on Sunday morning for us. It's going to be in Abu Dhabi. And I'm really hyped about this fight. So I know not everybody here is super into fighting, but what do you guys think? Poirier, McGregor, give me your thoughts. Oh, it's Saturday. Okay, sorry. It says Sunday when oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't watch UFC too often. I have one friend, besides Joe, obviously, who's really into it, but I have one friend from home who's like huge UFC guy, and he's been saying all along, like, I don't see McGregor losing this fight. And he's like, I don't see it going past maybe 2 or 3 rounds at most, because McGregor's just been that guy for so long. Like, I remember watching him. I forget who he was. Was it Cowboy when he hit him with the shoulders, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fight was like crazy. I was like, this guy's insane. Like, he's always been a dominant fighter. And I don't know much about Poirier, but I just know McGregor is intense and scary. So I see him taking that fight.
Yeah, I think the guy's a dog, and he's battle tested, and he's said, and he goes through, like, obviously with the exception of Khabib, and obviously Mayweather, every fight he says what's gonna happen, and it happens.
You
Like,
can't use that Mayweather one against
he does
him.
everything
because he's not a boxer.
He
Exactly.
does, yeah, and that's a whole different debate. But like, he does everything right. He's just such a versatile fighter with all the different styles that he has he incorporates like Taekwondo with all the different fighting styles into his regimen. And I do acknowledge though that Dustin Poirier is a completely like different fighter than when they first met. When they first met, Poirier completely let McGregor get into his head. I don't know if you've ever seen the press conferences and stuff, but like it was
funny.
Poirier,
he called him like
hilarious.
a back home redneck. He was like,
yeah,
I'm fighting
him like a
little back home
hillbilly
redneck. I'm gonna bounce his head off the canvas.
Yeah, dude, that was like the beginning of like McGregor like taking over the world with like the shit talk, and like it was the best. Like that was when you also knew like this guy's legit. And the way that he knocked him out too was like a really gruesome, like literally bouncing his head off the canvas. Like it was like actual, like he was dribbling a basketball. So like
monkey.
I'll say this: they fought at 145. Poirier moved up to 155, and that's what they're fighting at right now. And his chin got a lot stronger. And when he was fighting McGregor at first, his chin was really weak. Anytime he got hit in the chin, he basically would go down. So I don't know if it's going to end in the way that McGregor says within like 60 seconds, but eventually it's going to happen. McGregor's going to get him, and he's going to beat him. But you know, if this fight, if Poirier can withstand the damage for a while, he could squeak out in maybe the later rounds. But I just see this line has moved. It's ridiculous. This line has moved from minus 160 from when it opened for McGregor. It's minus 310 now. Like it's moved so far since they first opened the bet. Everyone is on McGregor train. I really don't think a lot of people think Poirier is going to win. So I think McGregor is going to get this one as well.
And I think the thing with McGregor is that the way he fights versus the way Poirier fights, it's more aggressive and it's more assertive, and I think it's really going to be exciting. I think it's really important. You're saying the predicting and saying that he's going to win. He retires and unretires, but when he unretires, he does it for a reason. And McGregor, he's at this point doing it to show he's the best fighter ever. Like Poirier's not even on this level. I think even minus 310 odds isn't fair. I think McGregor wins very early.
See, I'm not trying to necessarily come at you too hard, but I think that that's a non-seasoned MMA fan's perspective. Dustin Poirier is a dog. He's literally like, you can tell by the way he fights that he has experienced street fighting. That's where he developed these instincts. He pulls his shorts up, which don't move.
I didn't know that, but I know all I know is McGregor's a dog too.
Yeah, and McGregor is a dog. McGregor is a generational striker. He's got incredible accuracy. He's not the quickest, he's not the strongest, but he has incredible accuracy, and he's assertive. He's calculated with his strikes, which it makes his striking, otherworldly, to be real. And his game on the ground, he's no slouch. He was cutting up Chad Mendez, who's a great wrestler from the ground, from the bottom. He's a great fighter, well-rounded. It's just hard to say though, because I think this weight cut will make a difference, and I don't think we're going to see an exact redo of the last fight. McGregor, came out and absolutely dusted Cowboy. You know, he's only lost in the UFC to Nate Diaz and Khabib Nurmagomedov. And, you know, he avenged that loss to Nate Diaz. I don't see that loss to Khabib as anything that, you know, shakes my foundation of what I saw Conor as before. You know, he's a predominantly striking, however, not, you know, not one-dimensionally striking fighter. But Khabib is just like the best on the ground ever in history. So I think it was a bad matchup for him. But I think Conor wins this not so quickly. I think he wins it with a second or third round KO. But I think Dustin impresses a lot of people. I think, you know, even though I think McGregor's going to win, I think Dustin is not being considered as he should be, because if you watch his fight against, you know, we can talk about the rest of the card a little bit too. Dan Hooker is on the undercard. If you watch Dustin Poirier's last fight against Dan Hooker, he ate some big shots. He was throwing bombs. Dan Hooker was.
But how about McGregor against Poirier in 2014, KOing him in the first round?
But that was at 145. He's cutting less weight, and Poirier since then has looked like a championship pedigree fighter.
I mean, they both have improved since then. This is what I'd say. In your comparison to the Dan Hooker fight, I think that's a great way to look at it, that he can take a lot of damage. Only thing I'd say though about it is that Dan Hooker is not like a knockout artist. He's like a volume striker. He doesn't secure. He's not. He probably has secured knockouts. I don't really know off the top of my head. But when I do envision Dan Hooker, I think of him more as like a volume striker, and that's like perfect for Dustin Poirier because he can take a lot of damage and still dish a lot of damage. He's really good for those long fights. I just think McGregor doesn't match up for him the same way that he didn't last time they met, because McGregor has so much power in that left hand. No one can take it. Like, and the only guy
you're not gonna be okay.
The only guy that's been able to withstand his left hand is obviously he really never landed it on Khabib, so it didn't really ever happen. But Nate Diaz has the most iron chin,
and they were fighting at 170. Like Nate Diaz, they were fighting at 170. He's a bigger guy. Conor's 5'9". Like he's not. Nate Diaz is 6 foot. There was a size difference. Nate Diaz was probably in that cage 10 pounds heavier than what he weighed in as, and Conor was probably in that cage like a pound lighter. Honestly.
Yeah, still, but the thing is though, Diaz has never been knocked out, so he definitely has an iron chin no matter what.
Didn't he get knocked out by Masvidal?
No, he didn't get knocked
TKO.
out.
He got TKO.
It was a doctor stoppage.
Right.
But basically, yeah. McGregor is who I picked for this. If we want to talk about this really quickly, the Dan Hooker Michael Chandler fight, because I know we're going a little bit over on time. I don't want to cut you guys. Any of you guys want to still talk about McGregor? Like any predictions?
No, I just had one more thing to say. I was watching his interview the other day where he was saying I think the interviewer said would you rather knock Poirier out in 60 seconds or would you like to go to a war? And he's like, honestly, I'd rather have a war. Like he's ready to go. Which and for me that's a sick thing to say. That's so
no,
you have to be
see what he said at the press conference?
It's a mind fuck.
Right. He's more humble, but he's also I'm ready to put on a performance for the ages. He's not the same offensively, maybe in your face talking shit about you, Conor McGregor, but he's still I think he's this. He's still the assassin that he was. He still got that same intensity, but having kids, fighting in all these spectacles, I think he's learned a little bit more about how to handle himself in press conferences more respectfully, maybe not as entertainingly so, but more respectfully to the other fighter.
But think about it. He's matured a lot, and he's already made a lot of money. He doesn't need to do that anymore if he doesn't want to. And
it's all about his legacy now.
Yeah. Imagine Jake Paul thinking he's actually going to get this fight.
Nah, he's not.
The Jake Paul thing, I think, is such bullshit. I think it's a disrespect if McGregor even says yes to it.
McGregor's not going to say yes. McGregor is fighting for his legacy. As you said, maybe not to be the best fighter of all time. Maybe he is, because I think this could set up a rematch with Khabib. I don't know if he's completely retired. He was talking with Dana a little bit ago. But I don't think he's fighting for money. I don't think he's fighting for glory. I don't think he's fighting for clicks, which is why his press conference demeanor has changed so much. He's not trying to sell the fights like that. He's trying to train, come in, do one press event, sell some pay-per-views, make some money, and absolutely kill the other person in the ring. And that's all he wants to do.
Yeah,
While he was respectful with Cowboy, he blitzed him. He cut him up with his elbow, his shoulder, his fist. It was brutal. And I think we're going to see that same sort of
He never stopped
aggression today.
He never stopped training since Cowboy. He probably took a couple days off and kept training for the whole
That was
year.
a year ago.
Like, he's a crazy hard worker, and people overlook that because they think he's so good at shit talking, he's so good at this, but they forget that like he actually backs it up every single time. Now, okay, let's get into the next fight just really quickly. Like we'll just brush over this one, even though this is like the only other one that's really important on the card, in my opinion.
Oh, can we talk? How about we talk a little bit about Max Holloway, and then after this fight before we end.
Yeah, after this fight, sure. So, Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler. Interesting part about this fight for anyone that doesn't know, Michael Chandler. There's this other no other company really rivals the UFC and MMA, but there's this company called Bellator, which is like the second most popular one. And Michael Chandler was the champion for the lightweight division in Bellator, doing really well there. And then obviously, if he got called, the UFC wanted to sign him, and he was like, for sure, it's a way better company and way more glory and skill in it.
Yeah.
So he's the number one. He was the champion there in the same division. So now he's coming over. He's unranked, obviously, but he's the betting underdog against Dan Hooker. What?
This is his first fight, Joe?
This is his first fight in the UFC, yeah. So it's a really interesting to see. Like, it's gonna actually be like it's a pretty big fight, not because of the names, but really because like it's like this will set a precedent for like the Bellator guys. Like if
it has some reflection on this the MMA standings, because this is like the top guy in Bellator, their champion.
No, this is really their champion. Like he was their most he had the most personality in that division. Like he was like basically carrying that division, and he came over here, and now he's still. It's surprising to me that he's the underdog, but he has a wrestling background. I know he's done a lot of wrestling. He's a really good striker. So I honestly think there's a lot of value to take him here at plus 105. But at the same time though, Dan Hooker is such a big dude too.
His dirty boxing is so unpredictable and like it, I don't understand how some of his shots land, but they do, and they look like they hurt. Like this guy's no joke on the feet. And
it's really good fight.
His knees are terrifying. He's literally trying to club your head in with his knee. It's a really scary thing.
He's a huge dude too. Like in the lightweight division, he's like 6'2". Like I've seen some videos of him and like Adesanya sparring because they're on the same team, and like he's literally literally looks bigger than Adesanya, and like Adesanya is like now 2 weight classes above him. So like in the cage, he's gonna be bigger than Chandler, but I think Chandler is still a good value bet here, like at plus 105. Because like he has knockout power, and he wants to prove something, and he's representing the other company, obviously UFC now, but like he's got to prove something. And like Dan Hooker's a great, can take a lot of damage, one of the best fighters in the world. But like we'll see. I honestly I don't know what's gonna happen.
I think Chandler's a big threat, and I actually think he's gonna win this fight. I think it's like a sort of Ben Askren versus Robbie Lawler kind of thing, where you gauge his talent with like a mid-level, upper-level guy in the division, which is what this is. And then I think he wins this fight, and then he gets into the real like number one contender zone. But now that we've talked about that, I think we just need to mention just once at least the way that Max Holloway was literally talking to the announcers, saying, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC," and no look lands like a freaking right straight on this dude's chin, and proceeds to win the fight in like spectacular fashion. Thought it was a great performance from the Blessed Express, Hawaii local. So being from Hawaii, I automatically am a big fan. But I think that he's coming for the crown in that featherweight division. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does after this, because that fight was like, I was watching, I was like, holy shit, this guy is no joke. He's here. He's ready to die in the cage,
And one more thing I want to add about UFC. I think it's a great sport, but even a better video game. And to all our viewers, highly recommend you guys playing that. Just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah. UFC 2 or 3?
3.
Okay. Fair game.
Yeah, that was a great main event. It really showed like Holloway is really revamped himself. He's a great fighter, but like that was actually insane. And it was also crazy just because like the amount of damage that Calvin Kattar took, Dana like even said after the fight, he was thinking about like making the corner throw the towel in for him in the 4th round, because he was getting the shit
He's a warrior though
out of him. Like
Calvin
it was
Kattar
actually like, and I look back at the highlights now because I watched it and I really wasn't like in my right mind to like realize how much damage he was taking. But like he took like I thought like I look at the highlights now and I'm like, this guy could have actually died. Like he took so much damage, and like props to him. I have a lot of respect for him, but like it shows you, it's like they market this fight up and they're like, this guy has knockout power, whatever. But it doesn't even matter if you have knockout power if you're being blitzed the entire time. Because you can't throw knockout power off your back foot. And the entire fight, for all 25 minutes, Holloway pushed the pressure on him the entire fight. So what's he gonna do?
Cardio and his pace are like Colby Covington.
Yeah,
That's the kind of pace that we're talking about here. That's what makes these kind of fighters, where they're not necessarily the big knockout artists. Him, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. Usman has knockout power, but they're more like they'll come at you, they'll stay in your face, they'll touch you up, and they'll wear you down until you can't take it anymore. So I think that was just an exciting card for the future of the UFC in the featherweight division. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff just happening throughout the company now. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Volkanovski is the champion at the moment.
Yeah,
right?
he beat Max in a very controversial fight.
Max won it.
Yeah, exactly. As Joe said, I was about to say, some think Max won. I could see it going either way. I thought it was
Really,
just
like everyone thought he won. It was just really, it was
like
bullshit.
70 to 85% of people thought Max won that fight, and he got the decision taken from him. So that might also be a motivator on his mission to the top.
That's what I'm saying. Like after that fight, he had an insane fight. I mean, people were saying it's like the best fight ever from him. So if he can perform like that again against Volkanovski, if he wants to fight him again and get that title, I could see it happening. And as you guys were saying, apparently he did win the first fight. I guess
there will be more scrutiny on the decision this time for sure, because if he gets robbed a second time, people will lose their fucking minds.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I guess that wraps up a great episode of the Vandy Blitz. Obviously, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We love our fans so much, and we'll be producing a lot more. We might try to shorten our episodes a little bit and produce some clips on our YouTube just to keep people engaged. And if you don't have time to watch a full episode, you can just check in with us with those little clips. So be sure to
don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to subscribe. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace. Good shit, boys. Jacob turned his camera off.